Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. I've always admired Coach Goo's forehand.
Hey, calm down now.
It's always sounded good. The ball is always exploding off his racket. But how does he do it? Stay tuned. All right, so Coach Goo has a great forehand. You guys know that. His timing is impeccable. It always sounds like a cannon goes off when he hits it right, which is most of the time. And he always, it's always hard to see how his ball's coming, because I feel like with your Eastern grip, you can choose what you want to do. And a lot of the times you can pick up right up until the last second, like if you want to turn it up or if you want to just flatten it out. So that's what the grip allows you to do. But I wanted to go over a couple things that you do very, very well that I can learn from, and I'm sure they can learn from, is the speed in which you do this. When I look at your swing, it doesn't look like you're coming fast, but it has something to do with your hands and your arm just like being super fast but deceptive. It looks like you're going slow-mo, but I know you're not because of how fast that ball's coming. So what is it that you do?
That is a good question that a lot of people asked me, and I had to figure out still. But I think what helped me, and this is previous due to my background of other sports, I think about, and my other sport was on the side, was table tennis. So as table tennis players, we had to be kind of quick and pretty compact in our swings. And that's what I feel like helped me the most with the whip. I think what helps me kind of solidify my forehand is the compactness of the take back. That is number one crucial thing. Most people, if you see now on tour, they're pretty compact. They're not actually big anymore. I think the biggest thing you'll see now, like who had it, like, I mean, if you look at Ben Shelton, like those guys are pretty darn compact. They're from here, and then all of a sudden they're just ripping it all the way through. All right, so for me, the biggest thing is the compact take back. So when I'm taking it back, if you guys watch me, I'll do it in front so you guys can see it. I'm pretty much, instead of taking my racket back that most people do nowadays, like before then, now it's pretty much my hips and my whole body is actually turning into my right leg. And you'll start to notice too, my right arms or my hands now are from the ready position. And that's how simple it is. I don't do anything special with my racket. I actually leave it in this ready position. And all of a sudden now, my arms are loose. My dominant hand is pretty darn loose. And what I'll do is afterwards, if I see the ball coming, I'm chasing it ball down. And we focus on this nice low base. I think this helps me too, is because one, I'm in a semi-open stance. A lot of forehands nowadays are hitting open and semi. They're not really as close as much anymore. So therefore, try and find this perfect, nice kind of solid base where it could be open or semi-open. And you'll see me do is, to help me get that loose whip I have, that's so deceptive to Harry, which I don't understand, it's okay. The biggest thing what I try to do is pretty much allow my racket to drop and see how loose my wrist is. My wrist is pretty darn loose. It's still firm enough to hold the racket in place, but when I start to drop it, this is where the magic really happens for me. This is why I keep my wrist and my arms loose, is because when I swing towards this ball, it looks like it's slower, but what I'm doing is I'm actually allowing my body to come into the ball naturally, and this part just relaxes and actually speeds through. I'm releasing all my tension when the racket is actually coming down and dropping through. So at this point, this is where the whip comes. So for table tennis players or baseball players, or anyone that is like in the realm of like those kind of sports, or even if you notice, if you push a heavy fridge, the force you give it to this ball or to that object, it's gonna come through this way. So instead of focusing on how fast you're actually swinging with your hands. It's actually how quick am I going to be, and explosive I'm going to be to create this swing to go fast all the way through. So that's the biggest reason that I feel like I have a great speed of a forehand, is because the weight that I give to that explosiveness to the ball does help that nice fluid transition.
So it starts from here and then all the way through.
It starts
there.
through.
It's the push.
It's
right?
the almost. You're almost there. It is the push. It is the load first on the right leg, on the back leg, and then it's the timing and push of explosivity in through your shot.
Got it.
So it's right leg first, and then afterwards, your left leg is basically there to catch you.
Okay.
Catch your fall.
Let's show them how it's done here.
Okay. Just be careful.
Don't hit me.
I know.
Woo!
So let's see if I have my timing. So the biggest thing what I'm doing is I'm pretty much focusing on my turn of my hips. I'm loading into my right leg and popping all the way through. I can do the same thing on each, from open stance to even semi-open stance. I'm focusing on rotating my hips and getting that nice explosive push into my left leg. So therefore, I can get that nice timing sound. You'll notice I'm actually focusing also on the timing of how the ball is bounced and how it can benefit me to push off or know when to push off my right leg into the ball. Last two. Oi. And last one.
All right. So, Coach Gu, I can hear the ball off your racket into the fast track, like unlike anything else I've probably heard before, except for maybe when Pablo did it. But it's such a solid, perfect timing thing. Now, because you do what you do, I feel like you give yourself more time because you can, you're prepared so early that all you really have to do, and it looks like this when I watch you, is that you just do this.
Pretty much. I like to treat it as like, if you're throwing, I like what Sky says from RTP Pro Tennis.
RTP Tennis, yeah.
Yeah, RPT Tennis, sorry. And he actually talks about throwing a punch, right? So when we throw a punch, it's more of like, we keep the core tight, right? It's actually not like we just throw the punch. It's actually a bit of the kind of the torque from your legs and your core and your abs, right? It's actually a very mid-body to leg dominant. So therefore, when you generate, you can actually pop it out. So what I like to focus on is, and you saw my take back, it is not complex at all. A lot of people have a very complex idea of how the forehand should look. And of course, there's great looking forehands out there, but the game now is so quick that you can't get away with that kind of a speed anymore. And you can see now, like the evolution of like tennis nowadays, all the forehands and backhands are super compact, right? There's a point that they can't chase to that ball anymore. The ball is getting faster and faster, and you see, and it becomes like from ground strokes to serves, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're coming quicker and quicker and quicker because you can see the more compact takebacks, but it has such an effective response because they're using more of their lower body and more natural power, which comes from legs and their core and their hips. So especially for me, what I like to especially hit those forehands, I pretty much, like I say to most of my clients and my students, is all I have to do is make sure I turn. So in my ready position, if I turn and pretty much leave my left hand on top of the racket or just round the racket, naturally, that's how we take the racket back. The racket's already up, which most coaches do talk about having the racket up. So if I turn my hips, all of a sudden now my racket's there. All I have to focus now on is understanding the timing of when to drop the racket and now bring the weight towards the ball and through the finish. So that's what I focused on, and this is especially when I was a player, I only focused on those two things, was the timing of my drop and understanding how to bring the weight forward without actually exerting so much energy on my upper body.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Coach Gu. That
Of
was
course.
wonderful. Guys, probably want to rewind that a couple times and get that leg thing, push that fridge, like Sky's punch, all right? You know, all that kind of brings it all together. Coach Gu, thank you so much.
Of course.
Where can we find you?
You can find me at AG.tennis. I'll also be posting content there as well.
All right. Guys, get Coach Gu's forehand on the fast track. Guys, thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis.